The situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon remains disturbing as a result of the armed conflict going on there for more than 5 years to date. Destructions, killing of persons, and of course destruction of properties, displacements of hundreds of thousands of people continue in those two regions. We shall bring to you updates in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. We'll also bring to you disturbing images of the deplorable, precarious learning conditions of pupils in the northern regions of the Republic. The teachers of both the secondary and basic education subsectors in Cameroon are still on the strike action that started more than 3 weeks ago, and they are pressing for concrete solutions to their plight. We begin this newscast in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, where killings have continued, destruction of properties, maiming and displacement of persons in those two regions for over 5 years and more. This has been going on in different parts of the two regions in crisis, and the two English-speaking regions have seen their sons and daughters, including government officials and elements of the national armed forces, as well as civilians in general, government officials and other civilians killed in the war in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. And the armed conflicts has continued, with recent statistics showing a disturbing and worsening situation, with government officials who have been targeted and killed in numbers, in disturbing numbers. Recently was the divisional officer of Equinoxe Titi and the mayor of that locality, and 5 other persons who were gunned down in that ambush by armed men in the Equinoxe Titi in the Indian Division, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Until today, the whereabouts of 5 regional delegates remains unknown. They were abducted several months ago, one of them killed. Until date, government has not uttered a word concerning the fate, the situation of those government officials. And before this, killings have continued at close intervals of time, and of course some of the killings, some of the destruction also attributed to elements of the national armed forces, the security and defense forces deployed to those two regions by the government, according to the authorities, to protect the territorial integrity of the country and to protect the lives of the people living in those two regions. And some of the villages burnt down, hundreds of villages burnt down, have been attributed to security and defense forces by non-governmental organizations, right organizations, including the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa. The center has published a series of reports on military excesses, military atrocities, or atrocities committed by national armed forces, and also atrocities committed by armed men who are also who have also been cited in atrocities committed in those two regions: the killing of military officers, the killing of administrative authorities and civilians. And this has continued for quite a long period of time, and education is badly affected in several parts of those two regions. No schools or academic activities have not been going on. The schools have been shut down for a long period of time, and many of the people have displaced themselves, have been forced out of their homes, and they are now seeking refuge, some in precarious conditions in different parts of the country. And some of the people living in the west region of the country, the people forced out of their homes by the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, living in hell, so to speak. Many of them are living in very difficult conditions, and civil society organizations are now striving to improve on their living conditions by helping them with skills that can be put to action to have what to eat, to put food on the table. Now, Malaglory reports.
Of internally displaced persons still live in very precarious conditions in the west region of Cameroon. For over 5 years, these people have been toiling at least for daily food. We are 20 of us in a single room. We ran from the crisis to seek refuge here. They depend on civil society leaders who since 2018 has been organizing training sessions to drill them on economic activities, advising and sensitizing these IDPs on the importance of peace and social cohesion. Thanks to the activities of these organizations, they are able to put a smile on the faces of these internally displaced. This is the case with Women's Internal League for Cameroon, which has put in place a regional representative with objectives to empower these vulnerable persons. It's all about reinforcing the project already in place and to empower the internally displaced women and girls of the Menua division. It is an activity which is aimed at contributing through dialogues, youth trainings for peace and other trainings to accompany the public authorities fight this crisis which has greatly affected the division. Initiatives and possible solutions made by local administration for the good of these displaced persons. To permit each and everyone live in better and favorable conditions. To enable some of them go back to school. The expectations are really high. According to the last statistics, the West region has about 162,700 internally displaced persons, and the number keep increasing as the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest keep persisting.
We'll be coming back to some of these issues in a short while. Time for us to go over to the northern regions of the Republic of Cameroon to talk about the deplorable conditions in which the teaching and learning process is going on, and particularly in the basic education sector. Some of the teachers of government primary school Uru Yerima and Garwa, one subdivision in the north region, have said they cannot continue teaching in those precarious conditions, and they will not take up their chalks and their pens until the own administration responds to their plight in terms of their unpaid salaries, allowances, and of course advancement in their career. Innocent as has more.
Education teachers are well on strike at government's primary school Uro Yerima in Garwa 1 subdivision. It is true because they have written some of their grievances on placards. They also say they cannot teach with hunger.
Teachers are hungry. Many teachers haven't had any matricle, and we don't have any salary. Some people here have spent over 10 years. Some have spent 8 years. Some have spent 7 years before getting into a concours for integration. And up to now, we don't have any salary.
Some of them trek to school through the forest on a daily basis. She says she originates from Ombesa in the Mbaman Inobo division of the Central region. Since she was posted in Garwa, she has not earned a salary and matricule. She treks to school with her child on her back and cannot feed her 2 children. Yes, they are on strike like secondary school teachers. This has been confirmed by the director of the school. I arrived early in the morning and noticed they are boycotting the classrooms. It is good to be truthful. Honestly, teachers are neglected and ill-treated. They are suffering. They usually come to me complaining they are hungry, they have no transport fare, and so on. I am forced to give them money from my pocket. At times, they will call me to pick them up from the junction to school on my motorcycle. It is horrible. Let the government think of us. This is unfair. This is happening after the basic education minister recently said on the media there is no issue in the basic education sector and that his ministry has everything under control. It is not good for the image of Cameroon, more especially for a minister to speak to the media. There is no problem in the basic education sector. I ask myself if he has made a tour across Cameroon to see for himself before arriving at such conclusion.
Il faut que cesse la marginalisation et la chosification des instituteurs.
Apart from this maltreatment of teachers, their working environment is also a mess. At the government primary school, Uro Yerima, you will not believe what your eyes see. The director of the school comfortably seated in his open-air office.
Voilà mon bureau.
This is my office. I am on duty. It is not only this office that poses a problem. Most of the classrooms are constructed with mats. We are hit by harsh sunshine, rain, and dust. Also, there are no toilets, no water. These disgruntled primary school teachers wish that leaders of Cameroon fit in their shoes for a moment and understand what they go through. That those who have a conscience should address their grievances and improve on their general working conditions like in other countries, even in the Semak sub-region.
Now back to the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. For me, Armstrong Sander brings to us some updates on the situation of the more than 5-year-long armed conflict going on there. Updates published by renowned international humanitarian website, Relief Web, and the website says that the situation has continued worsening with civilians paying a heavy price. For me, Armstrong Sander.
The report, with a focus on the 5-year-long armed conflict in the Anglophone northwest and southwest regions, say the local population continue to suffer from exposure to crossfire and abduction, explosions from improvised explosive devices. It says the United Nations Department for Safety and Security reported 11 improvised explosive devices incidents in December 2021, with 4 in the northwest region and 7 in the southwest region. On the 6th of December 2021, for example, suspected non-state armed groups fighters detonated an improvised explosive device at the supermarket in the town of Buea. A second was discovered at the market and deactivated by state security forces. On December 13th, 2021, an improvised explosive device explosion was reported at a trade fair at Bongo Square in the class quarters of the town of Buea. An unspecific number of people were injured according to the reports. The report says these attacks and others reported in Buea in the past months targeting civilians are instilling fear among the population, while imposed Monday Ghost Town rules declared by non-state armed groups are still in place in the northwest and southwest regions. With regards to attacks on healthcare, the report says state security forces made an incursion into the St. Mary's Soledad Hospital in Alakuma in Mankon in Bamenda in the northwest region on the 5th of December 2021. During this incident, patient wards were surged. Patients harassed 2 suspected non-state armed groups fighters who were receiving treatment at the health facility got arrested. In the same vein, state security forces, according to the report, stopped an international medical non-governmental organization's ambulance at Vingoti checkpoint, transporting an injured man from Ashum in Tinto, who was later retrieved and the ambulance sent back to Mamfe in the Manu division. The ambulance driver and nurse were later arrested and detained for questioning. with this incident and intensified arbitrary arrest, assault, abduction for ransoms, and denied access to basic services. The report says 2,490 people were reportedly displaced in these regions, the northwest and southwest regions, in December 2021.
Komi Armstrong Sander reporting there. Now, persons plying the road Lena to Chatti on the national road number 15 can now do that with little or no challenges. The over 100-kilometer stretch of road has been tarred, and the state has been significantly improved. Smanjik and Gabriel has more.
Lena is the main way to Tibati in the Adamawa region from Yaoundé. It's more than 167 kilometers after being tarred. Circulation is now fluid between the two regions. We are about receiving the stretch of road linking Lena, Sengbe to Tibati. It should be recalled that Lena and Sengbe are the last areas in the central region, 60 kilometers. And Sengbe Tibati, which is about 63 kilometers, is in Jerem, Adamawa region. It's thanks to the partnership between Cameroon and the Islamic Development Bank that the sum of 104 billion francs CFA was raised for the road project. At Sengbe, a border town between the center and Adamawa region, on the national road number 15, a new bridge has been constructed, abandoning the old one, which is now very risky. On the new bridge, a footpath is being created so that those moving on foot won't have contact with the main roads. With the construction of the road, one should be expecting a very busy highway, as cars will be coming in from Chad, Nigeria, and Central African Republic. To enable the movement of heavy-duty trucks, adapted weighing stations have been made. To permit that cars pass here easily, we have made the weighing station that reflects the types of cars that will be using it. The technicians say the work was done without duress, reasons why it will last for more than 15 years. The 15 years is how long the road will be without it being destroyed. With us, we are proud of always giving the best when contracted. It was initially supposed to be 135 kilometers between Lena to Tibati, but due to what was realized, the road was extended to 167 kilometers. The tarring of the road is a great relief for the population of Tibati, who were already used to dust during the dry season and mud at the raining seasons.
From Lena to Tibati, now a smooth ride. The absence of some medical equipment and limited staff is affecting the functioning of the Kolofata Hospital in the far north region of the country. And in the course of the administrative visit or the working visit of the Minister of Public Health of the Republic of Cameroon, Dr. Manauda Malachi, in Kolofata, he promised to bring solutions or to provide solutions to those problems affecting that health amenity. Immaculate Fogue has more. Immaculate Fogue with that report on the Kolofata District Hospital in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, one of the health amenities in that part of the country receiving victims of the Boko Haram insurgency that's been going on there for several years, and that hospital has been suffering from lack of equipment and limited staff. And now the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, says that he's going to provide answers, solutions to those problems as soon as possible. He was speaking during a walking visit to Kolofata. Immaculate Fogue. Right, in news out of the country, we bring to you updates on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Cuts your news.
As Russia's gradual offensive nears the end of its third week, fears are growing that its troops will widen their assault to more cities, including the capital Kyiv, piling further suffering on the local population. Thousands of Ukrainian civilians have already been killed or had to flee their homes. Cities like Mariupol, Kharkiv and Chernihiv have already been heavily pounded by rockets, artillery and airstrikes. Experts say this is a typical Russian tactic inherited from the Soviet army. When their troops cannot overwhelm a resisting enemy, they unleash heavy weaponry.
And it doesn't really matter if that enemy is in the city or not, you just blast at it, the same way as they blasted at Grozny in Chechnya. That's also where they try to get in first with smaller forces, try to take it from the Chechen rebels. That didn't work, so then they said, okay, block by block, we're going to blast that city to pieces.
This method was used in Syria and had devastating consequences in Aleppo. The city was subjected to constant airstrikes and shelling. In Ukraine, Russia recently announced the deployment of special Syrian units experienced in urban warfare. For its part, the Ukrainian army has been trying to stop the encirclement of cities, including Kyiv, to prevent Russian troops from laying siege to entire urban centres. Experts believe military strategists in Moscow expected a swift victory, but now face mounting tank losses inflicted by agile Ukrainian tactics.
On the other side, the Ukrainians have been training on this kind of concept, delegated small units, etc., since basically 2014, when also with the help of various Western military who have been training Ukrainians since 2014, quite a lot of them, in especially this, delegated authority, small-scale operations.
NATO supplied and trained Ukraine's army before the war. That appears to have played a major role in slowing the Russian offensive. The fear now is things could become more brutal as Russia attempts to gain further ground.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Point today. Our guest, Guy Blaise Fegab, is a civil society leader, former communication and disarmament officer, and now director of programs of the Cameroon branch of the Cameroon branch of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom with Cameroon. He is a secondary school teacher and a writer. Guy Blaise, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Right, for more than 3 weeks now, secondary school teachers have been out of their classrooms or not teaching at all, and some of them have been mounting pressure and asking government to solve their problems. And on the instructions of the head of state, government has responded, but they are still on strike. They have said they want to see the concrete actions and the results that will be taken in view of solving their plight. What's your opinion about this strike action?
Yes, I think as the movement that has started this strike has done it well to ask the government to pay what they have to pay to the teachers. Because actually there are teachers who have been working in very bad conditions, some working without receiving their salaries for many years, and those who are receiving the same salary since they are teaching for about more than 20 years. So this situation is not acceptable for teachers. So you can understand why teachers are undergoing this strike. Yes, the request of the teacher, everybody already know them, the government know, and they have the solution as well.
Right, some little connection issues there with Guy Blaise Fegab, a civil society leader with the Women's International Week for International League for Peace and Freedom, the Cameroon branch of Wilif, and he's a teacher and a writer. He was responding there to the issue of teachers who have been on strike, notably government school teachers, for more than 3 weeks today, and demanding for concrete solutions to be applied. Gibles, the government has responded, but they are still on strike. The teachers are still not teaching. School activities, academic activities have been disrupted in several government schools across the Republic of Cameroon. Do you think that the teachers should continue with this strike action despite the response of government, the series of measures instructed by the President of the Republic?
Yes, the teachers are asking to receive their salaries, and up to now, I'm not sure the government have paid what they have to pay. Yes, we have received information that they have a plan. They have a plan to pay starting from this month of March up to 2023, next year. So this is actually the problem, because we can notice that when it comes to other sectors, the government does not have any difficulty to find the money to realize what they have to do. And the worry is when it comes to education, the sector of education, and if you have to keep postponing the payment of the dues of teachers, that's where you find the problem. So the government measures are there, and I think they have to do more for the sake of the children that are waiting for the classroom since 4 weeks already.
Some of the teachers are skeptical about the measures that have been announced so far by government, and they think that they have to continue with the strike action until they receive the money that they're requesting for, they receive the advancement in their careers, they receive all the allowances that they're asking for, until they see those things concretely responded to. They will not stop. Should they be skeptical about the government's credibility, the government's response to their plight?
The sound is not good. I can't hear very well your question.
Right, Gibles, go ahead.
I don't know if you, I did not hear your question.
The question is, why are the teachers skeptical about the credibility of what government has said, or the measures that government has taken? Because some of them are saying until they see the money that they are requesting for in their hands, until they see the advancements in their career, until they see the allowances that they are requesting for, they will not stop striking. They will not go back to the bots.
Yes, the fact is that teachers have been used to this type of the promises in the past years. There was a strike about 4 years ago, and it ended up with the same measures. And you cannot understand why the teachers are now skeptical about these same measures that have been taken by the government. And we can maybe ask the government to give more assurances in the way they are planning to pay this money to the teachers, because they have do these promises in the past, but they haven't kept these promises. That is why teachers are saying until they see that money appearing in their payment slip, they can't start working. So in our context, it is very difficult to imagine this situation, Also, it's very difficult to imagine how things has got to this level, because we have many sectors in our country, and some are more privileged than the others. So I think what the government can do now, because I'm not sure today or tomorrow we can see the money in the payment slip, because it can happen on the 25th of the month. But the government can from now give more assurances that the money is available, or at least that the full amount of the money is available to pay what they have to pay. And I think if these assurances are given, maybe the teachers can reconsider their positions.
After the Minister of Basic Education, Professor Laurent Serge Tundingwa, reportedly said that the teachers of the basic education sector were patriots, and that they will not get into such strike actions. The teachers are actually out of the classrooms now. They are also on strike. They have joined the teachers of the basic education sector, when some schools here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where academic activities have actually been interrupted. What do you think about this?
Yes, I think that the government, or to talk in particular of the Ministry of Basic Education, they have to listen to the teachers. They have to listen, because I'm not sure that the assurance she was given during the press briefing the other day was really based on the fact in the field, because he was very comfortable that the situation is not so bad in the sector of the basic education. But today we see the reality is that the teachers from the basic education are more than that days in the field for the strike. It means that government have to be closer to the people they are working for, and listen to their quarrels when they have problems, and find appropriate solutions. And as we are talking of dialogue, the dialogue is ongoing, but you can keep understanding that in the past they have not been able to, the government, they have not been able to keep their promises. And now, if we don't pay attention, more other sectors than education will still come to the strike, because there are problems everywhere, and the best thing to do is to solve them. So we have to prevent conflict.
In almost all parts of the Republic of Cameroon today, but more particularly the northern regions, in the Damawa, the north, and the far north regions of the country, we see pupils studying in very deplorable conditions. What can you say about these conditions? What can possibly explain the fact that at this time in the 21st century, pupils, children should be studying in such deplorable conditions?
Yes, we can't even believe that at this century there are civil servants in a country working for nothing. We can't believe that. So, as I was saying in the beginning, teachers have even waited so long to start asking what they have to receive. We have the situation is the same in all the regions. Teachers are having the same difficulties, and there are some particular regions, the conflict-affected regions, that where teachers suffer the most, where they have some particular challenges. And you see in those regions, like the far north, the southwest, the northwest regions, teachers have been threatened by the authorities because they have not been on their due positions, in their work every day because of the crisis in those regions. And if the teacher is threatened because he cannot be assured that he's working in the best safe condition, it is also normal that when the teacher feel the necessity to ask for his duties to be respected, they have to do that. So it is up to the government to take appropriate measures now. I think it is up to the government to do what they have to do to keep peace in
Right. What's your take, Gibles? What's your take on the deplorable conditions in which pupils, in particular, and students also are studying, especially in those northern regions? They're studying in very precarious conditions. They're exposed to all sorts of natural hazards and harm.
Yes, I personally taught in the north region of Cameroon for 4 years, and I can assure you that the conditions in which the pupils are receiving their lessons are not the best that you can imagine. And we don't only have the northern part of the country, we have localities even here, even in the littoral, the central regions, in the east. In every region, there are localities where people are studying in horrible conditions. And this is another task that is for the government to take charge of, because we are talking about the future of the nation. These are the young people. Their students are the future. And if you don't invest on their education, I don't know what we are expecting for in the next year. So it is rather an advice to government to
all right, let us
make sure the education of the children is the best, and this goes by the conditions of the teachers and the conditions in which the pupils are studying.
All right, let's wrap up this discussion with IDPs, internally displaced persons, people who have been forced out of their homes in the northwest and southwest regions because of the 5-year-long armed conflict going on there, and they are seeking refuge, many of them in deplorable conditions in the west littoral and other parts of the country. Your organization, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the Cameroon branch, is working with this group of persons, trying to improve on their living conditions. What's the situation today as far as the figures and the living conditions of those persons are concerned?
Yes, Chang is in the west region, one of the regions bordering the northwest and the southwest, and the region has been welcoming internally displaced people from the conflict in those affected regions. And Chang is hosting many IDPs, and we conducted 2 years ago a gender conflict analysis. In particular, we targeted IDPs in those regions, and we could assess how they are suffering in those regions, because the contact with the host communities is not always the best possible, because they have to face people who are already living in difficult situations. And that is why the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom has been advocating since 2018 with the local authorities there to find spaces to provide support to the internally displaced people in particular. So from this advocacy work, the organization have started at the beginning of this year a project to strengthen the economic and social empowerment of women internally displaced by the conflict in the northwest and the southwest region. And also, they are strengthening the capacities of girl mothers in these communities. And the project fits in the organization programs that is called crisis response, with the aim to respond to the priority needs and the request of those women that are affected, namely the internally displaced and girl mothers. In total, the project is hoping to train 500 women since it started in January. By November this year, we have trained 500 women in those localities. So they are organizing trainings that last 1 month, about 1 month, and they will organize 5 of these trainings. So up to now, 2 have already been organized. So we have more than 200 women and girls who have already received the training, and they are being trained on income generating activities that they have decided themselves to learn. And what WAVE is doing is just to bring the trainers to create the space and to create the conditions for their learnings. And amongst other things that the women have decided to learn, they have tried to make liquid soup, menthol, smoked fish, try to make sardines. There are other modules like mushroom cultivation. They also do aesthetics. They do cake with design. They do decoration and other things that they decide themselves to do, and we just come with.
All right, we caught up by time here. Guy Blaise Fegab, you're a civil society leader working with the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom Cameroon branch. You're a teacher and writer. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye.